one of the reasons why senior folks like yourself may find it difficult to land a job is because, by definition, you're senior. And as we always say, it's the air is thinner the higher you go.
Yeah.
So if you're senior, there are going to be much fewer jobs up there, like a pyramid, as opposed to if you were, like, say, a cost accountant or a junior whatever.
So a lot of organization structures are matrixed, and there are fewer, say, chiefs and governor generals at the top, but that there are lots and lots and lots of lieutenants. And so if you're one of the many lieutenants, there's only 2 or 3 generals that are required. And so if you find yourself reaching a level like a plateau, there's no more room at the top.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another fun episode of Career Success with Adrian and Yen. We, as always, every Friday morning, we have this show for you. And today we are talking about people who are in their 40s.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting more questions and comments from individuals who are in that age group who are fairly senior. Just describing the demographic. They're quite senior. They are, I don't know, maybe the 95th percentile of their career environment.
Yes.
And they're finding it a little bit tougher to accelerate, to maneuver, to navigate, to move ahead. There's a lot going on.
There are a lot of complexities, I think, at that age.
Yeah.
And that's why we are here to help. So for those of you who may not know us, we are Career Agility International. I'm Adrian, the CEO and founder of Career Agility. And Yen is our executive director. And together, we help individuals like yourself to enjoy better careers, to become more career agile, and enjoy career longevity. And we see this happening a lot, like what you mentioned, in the mid-40s and above. I wrote an article 2 months back highlighting a concern which a lot of individuals are asking for. It's basically, will I have a job after 50?
Yeah, and when you first raised that, right, I was, I've always been anti-ageist because the people who come to us and say, why am I not landing a role? Is it because I'm old? Or they are the ones thinking, I'm old, therefore I'm not getting any traction. And I've always been on the side of, no, there's no such thing as too old.
Yeah.
But lately, I
yes.
think because the market's been particularly nasty or difficult,
It's been quite unforgiving.
Something's been
Something has changed.
tightening.
The winds have changed.
The screws are tightening.
Yes.
And so, yes, anecdotally, we're seeing a lot more individuals who are not able to land after 50. We are. Not to say they can't land, because we've successfully helped quite a number, but that a number are finding it a lot harder.
And I watched something on the interwebs yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, which is happening
one? The
in
one
the US.
starting with T or the one starting with F?
Well, the one starting with Y, YouTube. So what's happening is that in the US now, what the data is showing is that they're facing a massive fall off in terms of men, especially male workers in their 40s to 55.
In the executive professional segment or blue collar?
Across the board. All of these folks are leaving the workforce and not coming back.
Yeah.
For various reasons.
Okay.
And it is worrying because that's a huge demographic chunk.
I would love to know
workforce.
what they do when they fall off.
So
Do they go off and become YouTubers?
No, they don't. A lot of them do not take up constructive economic employment activities.
Right.
So it's worrying for them. They're seeing the trend, especially after COVID. A lot of people fell off the radar and didn't come back.
Yeah.
They could be blue-collar workers. They could be technology folks. No, they could be senior folks. But I see a possible trend importing itself into Singapore as well, if we are not careful.
I don't see it so much in the Asian context for now. I think because we're not, our demographics, we're not reproducing enough to support our aging workforce.
That's true.
So, I mean, again, I don't know the data. Anecdotally, based on my experience, and we talk to hundreds and hundreds of people all the time, yes, there is still a shift, but I'm very loath to use US statistics in Asia.
True. And also,
I'm like,
I think the biggest difference is that over there, when you go on unemployment, there are unemployment benefits.
Yes.
So you don't really have to get back to the workforce.
Yeah.
But over here, but what we're seeing is a disillusionment of workers trying to get back into the system. And I'm afraid if we are not careful, we might end up in that area.
But we're not here to be a economist, doom and gloom or anything. I mean, we are targeting a very specific demographic of professionals who are trying to take their career, accelerate it to have some longevity, to continue making hay while the sun shines so that we can stave off the inflation. And all of that. And I'd like to speak very specifically to individuals who are in like professional kind of corporate environment, because I think that world is particularly tough.
Harsh.
Yeah.
It's harsh.
Yeah.
And that's why, if we are not careful, we might end up in a situation like theirs. Worst case, because and we don't even have the dole or
so this is
something
a public
very
service
important.
message.
Yes, so it's very important. And the big question now is, why is it from our not just anecdotal data but from actual data itself? Why is it taking longer for senior managers to land jobs?
So this is a public service message. We want to help you understand the behind the scenes and the whys,
the mechanics,
and then to figure out what you can do about it. So why is it tougher for a senior person? So are we talking to someone in their 40s now?
We're talking to someone in their 40s.
Yeah.
Okay. And because once in your 50s, the government calls you young seniors.
Yeah,
already.
right.
So,
I mean, we've now got a label.
Now we are young seniors. So we are young seniors. But when we talk about senior folks, we're talking about folks in their 40s. And, even if you're in your late 30s, you're going to get there very shortly. I was talking to a 40-year-old, and I told him, you got to plan for your 55.
Yep.
And he said, that's a long way more.
Yeah.
And I told him, what were you doing in 2010? And he said, I was doing this. And that was 15 years ago, no? In a snap of an eye, your past 15 years snaps.
Because the brain still thinks, because the number starts with 2, like 20 something, you're thinking, but 2010 was almost 15 years ago.
Yes, 15 years ago. So that's why it's important for us to know the background as to why. One of the reasons why senior folks like yourself may find it difficult to land a job is because, by definition, you're senior. And as we always say, it's the air is thinner the higher you go.
Yeah.
So if you're senior, there are going to be much fewer jobs up there, like a pyramid, as opposed to if you were, like, say, a cost accountant or a junior whatever.
And don't forget, a lot of corporate structures today are very flat. And sometimes lateral, like I don't know. I was just reading something very interesting about that one tree that is actually one tree, but it's a whole forest. It's one tree.
The one tree.
I can't even remember the name of the tree, but that was very interesting. So a lot of organization structures are matrixed, and there are fewer, say, chiefs and governor generals at the top, but that there are lots and lots and lots of lieutenants. And so if you're one of the many lieutenants, there's only 2 or 3 generals that are required. And so if you find yourself reaching a level like a plateau, there's no more room at the top.
Yes.
There's only sideways growth, like we just get fatter. And possibly they'll just make you do more with less, because they'll say, well, you're a lieutenant general now. If you want to raise, I'm going to give you a larger territory. So you go from, say, Southeast Asia to APAC, and then before you know it, you're heading up the globe and not getting to rest.
You're stuck upwards. That's the problem.
There's no room at the top.
You're stuck upwards.
Yeah, it sounds like
That's
that
irony,
that
right?
song.
There is always room at the top. Okay. But, the question I ask people is this. Like, I was talking to a tax director, and I said, he's a very senior person. I said, how many tax directors are there in Singapore? How many companies are there that are big enough to have tax directors?
Yes.
And how many of these do you need in each organization?
Yes.
There's only one you need, and they're like, you're going to be really huge.
Yeah, and with the augmentation of all your technology and your automation, you don't even need many tax people.
Therefore, it falls back, I want to share this with our listeners out there, it falls back on economics 101, a matter of supply and demand. if you are senior enough, the demand is going to be there, and how many slots are open, and therefore the supply is always there. So you're going to end up with a lot of competition for those spots. And the big question is,
what can we do about it?
What can you do about it?
What can we do about it? Well, we have a whole host of solutions and programs that are contextualized to the individual within that industry. It's very easy for us to give sweeping advice, which, by the way, you can get online anywhere.
Network your way to the top.
Add more value, bring in more revenue, whatever. So they're very generic, and again, all of which is relevant, but it has to be contextualized. And I think you need to figure out what your playground looks like, who are the cliques in that playground, and how to network your way to the top. So networking is easy, isn't it? It's just like, you need to land a job, just go network. But they don't tell you
how to make money in shares. Buy low, sell high. Yeah, that's about it. But you see, the big challenge is this. There are fewer spots at the top. So one word of advice we want to give you is this. You have to draw a market map. Okay, where you're going to be, who's hiring, do you want to work for those guys? And the second thing is you need to be kicked in the butt. Honestly, you need to be kicked in the butt. Why? You need to have someone like us to sit down with you to tell you whether or not that market map makes sense, whether it's realistic, or are you just dreaming? Okay.
It's funny when you said kick, because you're the one not kicking. I'm the one kicking half the time. People are giving us feedback that I'm scary, and I'm like making them do all that homework.
Yes.
But yes, if you come to us, we'll give you some homework and help you to.
We need to map the market together.
Discover your own clarity.
And sometimes you'll be surprised because the market you're mapping is not the market you should be going into.
Yeah, but we need to know that that's not the market we want.
Yes,
but
correct.
until we figure it out, we might be going up the wrong tree.
And the more senior you are, and in industries, there are more complexities involved. You need someone
absolutely.
it becomes what I call your big ball of yarn. Okay, we need to slowly pull out one by one, lay it all on the table, and then decide what. But it's not an easy thing to do, especially by yourself. So come talk to us.
You're thinking yarn, which is nice and fluffy. I'm thinking steel wool, because I've always used that analogy.
Steel wool is all the same color. How do you pull it? It's even worse, right? Yeah.
Well, anyway.
or what happens to me all the time? My earphone collection of all the wires, cables, earphone, USB cables in my drawer.
It needs to be a partnership to help.
You
need somebody to hold on one side so that you can untangle on that side, and then anyway.
So that's
let's
what
go. So it's also tough for senior folks like yourself to get any traction in your career sometimes, because even though I have been anti-ageist in many ways, there is still a bias against people of a certain age group. There is. We need to address it. And even if the organization is being politically correct, or they've got a program to hire mid-career professionals, or they want to bring in individuals who are senior in terms of age and rank, there is still a high degree of bias.
So let me share with you an interesting story.
Yes.
I was once asked to do, during my headhunting days, a CEO search. And I brought in a person who was 48 years old. Really
perfect
good.
Age, right?
Perfect age for everything. And the client came in and said, this guy is too old.
No way.
He said he's too old. Okay, what do you mean too old? I said, by the time we train him up, I think he's going to be about 51, 52.
Train him up for 3 years?
Yeah,
what kind of job is this?
It's a huge role. Okay.
Still.
We're going to come in by the time because
scoffing so
because
hard.
the CEO is there, he's 54.
Right.
Okay. The current CEO is there, is 54. He says, I'm going to step aside in a chairman type position. I want to let this other person come on board. But I'll still take an active reign in the company. Blah, 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 blah. End of story. We want someone who's 40. So that he's got enough 15 years runway
they
in
want
the
a
company
runway, yes.
ahead to bring him up to CEO for APAC,
There's so
CEO
many
for Global.
so many flaws in that logic, and so many fallacies that
But
I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like,
because
what makes you
think he's going to stick for 15 years? So silly.
So, but the problem is the biases are there.
The
like
biases are there.
And we used to say, that, it's not so bad, but we are seeing it now, there is. And there was a recent Straits Times article as well where they did a survey and they said that, yes, there were a lot of biases. People are feeling more age bias.
Yes.
And they're feeling nationalistic bias as well.
Yes. And there are so many other biases. There's gender, there's so many like height that people are no,
height
too short, too tall. again, biases are just human, and some are conscious and some are unconscious.
Yeah, but we're talking about, especially for senior folks, there's the age bias, which you need to be aware of. And sometimes it doesn't help that you are perpetuating the age bias as well.
And it's interesting that I know this person who was doing fine and inherited a new boss.
Okay.
And he was fine. He was happy with her until 4 months, 6 months later, he happened to see her file and realized that she was 52.
Oh, no.
And then his behavior
so
changed.
old? 52?
And
By
then
the way,
his
I'm
behavior
52,
changed,
so.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Because until you knew the number, it wasn't a problem.
I know that case. And the funny thing is because that guy was not local, he's British.
And he's a bit of a
yeah. And so he's not used to seeing Asian ladies. Asian ladies look much younger than they chronologically are.
Yeah.
So I think he was maybe he had hots for her. Maybe he was strongly disappointed.
No. I don't know. There was something about it that was completely weird because the bias.
But the age bias comes up.
It did come up, and it became a problem because she eventually had to leave.
Yeah. So that's why when you encounter age bias, there are things which you can do and the things that you should not do. One of the things is actually not to assume every job you don't get because of age. That's important.
Yeah.
Okay. There are other reasons as well. Could be you're too expensive. Could be you're unskilled. Could be you're not suitable for the role.
Could be a health problem.
1,001 things. But the age bias is there. How do you stop the age bias?
I think the most important thing is not to perpetuate it.
Yes.
So don't talk about it. There are people who would come to us and immediately one of the first things they say to us is, because I'm old.
I'm too old.
Or they introduce themselves and say, my name is whatever. Hi, my name is whatever, and I'm 66. Born in whatever.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you introduce yourself by immediately first off the bat?
Yeah.
By describing your age? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So don't perpetuate it.
Yeah.
Don't act the part.
I think sometimes some people also act the part, like what you said.
Right.
You start off the conversation with very low energy levels. You're talking like that. So what?
Your
one
clothes.
word. One
your
thing
clothes show your age.
Oh yeah, your clothes as well. Unfortunately, one thing that we recommend is, especially when it comes to perception, if you're having a Zoom call or a phone interview, okay, take the call standing up. You show a lot more energy level that way rather than sitting down and slouching. So one of the ways don't perpetuate.
No, wait, hang on. There was this, we Zoom a lot with our clients, and the individual had to look for the button. I was suggesting, why don't you share screen? And the person went with the glasses and he looked down at the screen.
Wait, you're describing me. You're describing me.
Saying.
Oh no.
Just saying.
She's describing
No, it's
me.
not you. But it happens very often because they're wearing progressive lenses, or they can't find because they're unfamiliar with the app.
Yeah.
So again, don't perpetuate it.
Yeah.
But again, there are so many more variables to the context of trying to remove the discrimination or the bias. Come talk to us if you have any specific questions. It can be anything from top to toe.
We actually
the
had
way you talk.
We actually had a client whom we gave one-on-one coaching for to make him sound much younger than he is. Not because he's old and whatever it is, because this guy was at a very ripe old age of 48. But he sounded like he was 66.
I can imagine.
Okay, so unfortunately, he was sounding older than he was, and we had to tell him how to.
I suspect it's because when you're in your 20s, you project as if you're older, and then you're in your 30s, you're projecting. But when you hit your 40s, you're supposed to embrace. But no, they keep projecting.
Keep projecting. Cannot. So he cannot. He was dressing up like a 60-year-old.
It was funny.
Okay, with the windbreaker and all.
Because the room is cold and they wear a certain type of jacket.
Glasses, the thick black. So he
and the t-shirt inside the shirt that made him look.
So it cannot. Okay, so you got to be mindful about it. Come talk to us because impressions count, and it sometimes because there is bias and discrimination in the market, you don't want to be written off. So come talk to us. It's very important.
Yeah, choose which hill you want to die on.
Number 3.
So why is it tough for those of us in our 40s and 50s?
See, and this is related to the discrimination question.
Yes.
A lot of times people think that, oh, you're old, your skills are obsolete. You do not know how to use Excel spreadsheet. Okay, you do not know how to use TikTok. You know how to use.
But I can imagine there's a lot of truth to that. In sometimes when you watch someone manage their phones, and you're like waiting for them to maybe send a QR code or do something, and they're taking forever.
Once again, you're describing me.
Or they have to take off their glasses.
You're describing me. Stop it. Stop it.
And look, and then they take forever. And you're like, it immediately tells us you're kind of obsolete. You're kind of not fast. I mean, it happens.
Once again, it's impression.
It is impressions. It's not fair.
And I think a lot of skills nowadays have been upgraded, and if you've not been keeping in tandem, you're going to be slowed down. So we were talking about a fantastic example just now about Excel spreadsheets. Some people are still very good at Excel spreadsheets, but nowadays you don't even need to be that great because Copilot AI comes in, and if you're not familiar with using Copilot AI, it's going to put you at a disadvantage.
Yeah, because you'll be slower.
Yeah. And right now, it's not just about Excel spreadsheets. It's about data visualization. It's about using Tableau. It's about using Power BI. How do you slice and dice the data? But therein lies a question about, are you A, technologically up to date? But B, sometimes the big challenge is that you are technologically up to date, but focusing on the wrong things. So if you are senior and you're still talking about, I can analyze Excel spreadsheets and mark out trends, that's good. But what they want to see from someone who's more senior is, what does that mean for my business?
Yeah, I also think that it is beyond what is the tangible skill. At a certain level of seniority, in order to get to the next level, by the way, I hate that phrase. In order to get to that next level, there is a set of very unique soft skills, not the Liam Neeson kind, but unique soft skills that are required for you to get visible, to get noticed, to be ahead, and to project and present. There's that whole executive presence thing going. So you might be really good at what you do. You might be a subject matter expert, but you've hit a ceiling because you lack the interpersonal communication bit. Right. Although the issue with interpersonal communications is that everyone has it. Yeah. And everyone thinks they're good at it from 16 to 85. Everyone. So it is a unique and different level of skill set that I think a 50-year-old needs to have. Yes.
And they need to communicate that skill clearly as well. And I think the other challenge about skills is that besides being obsolete, I think a lot of times one of the quite valid concerns is that you're too expensive.
Yes.
For
that skill set. For that collection of skills.
Yes, correct. Because I may not need all of it.
Exactly. Or I can find someone cheaper. Yeah. Who can again give me those specific sets of skills.
Just those particular smaller subset of those skills.
Right? Like do we have any 50-year-old credit managers?
Correct. We don't
need.
Or maybe like what we said earlier about if you're a tax director.
Yeah.
And there are not many tax directors in those big companies around in Singapore. The demand is not there, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you don't need a full tax director. Sometimes you need someone who's smaller. Maybe just to calculate the GSTs, stuff like that.
Yes.
But it's just a subset of yours, and they're looking at you, and so that's why.
And your price tag is for the entire suite of skills. And so we don't need your entire suite of skills. We just need that one slice.
Yeah. I don't need the whole Swiss Army knife. I just need that particular one which helps me to pick the stuff between my teeth.
Thank you for going into too much detail.
But then again, you see, so that's why it's important for you to realize the cost-benefit analysis. And that's why if you are in the thick of it, it's quite difficult for you to know which ones people are going to pay for. Yeah. Which ones are higher value. Come talk to us.
You can tell, I'm just talking to our audience here, I'm breaking the fourth wall. You can tell when this is a topic that Adrian feels very strongly about because he keeps banging the table.
Bang. No, it is
he emphasizes important with 3 very clear syllables. Important. Very important. Anyway,
critically important.
So what's next? Again, what other issues do our?
related to the previous thing about,
Yeah.
how do you unbundle yourself? I think
Yes.
people have forgotten how to sell themselves.
Absolutely. And again, but it's one of the toughest skills to learn.
Yeah, it is.
And we've seen so many, 99% of the individuals that we help
Yeah.
invariably
Yeah.
have difficulty talking about themselves. But it's natural to have awkwardness when you talk about yourselves. It is so hard.
So that's why I want to do an exercise with those of you who are watching us from the comfort of your home or wherever you are, taking a dump or going for a run.
Jeez. If you're taking a dump, don't listen to us. Go play a game or something.
Okay. So you distract me. Okay. The question is this, okay? What's your superpower? What are you really good at?
I'm really good at wasting my time. I'm really good at procrastinating.
Yeah. Apart from what we are, those are our superpowers.
Yeah, I'm really good.
And I'm going to give you 10 seconds of silence to think about what is your superpower? I feel like I'm on episode of Dora.
That was 10 seconds of
uncomfortable
of
awkward.
Very awkward silence.
Yeah. But you think about it,
Yeah.
okay? If you're not
Think
able,
about it.
it's an if you can see the pause button.
And
I
if
think.
you can find the word but without the context or without the vocabulary, because we're all great, and I'm just going to give our favorite hate example.
Yeah.
What's your superpower? Project management.
Project management.
But project management can be very small
or very big.
or very, very big. And I mean, organizing a birthday party
good.
is very different again than organizing a complete large
Conference.
global conference
Yeah.
with
600
VIPs and
people, yeah.
panelists and keynote speakers.
It's different.
But they're all under this
Yeah.
umbrella called project management, which is one of my pet peeves when people write these sort of wasted words on your resumes.
And I think
So don't put wasted words on your resume.
And I think the other problem also in terms of senior folks not being able to articulate their value is because they've been taking a lot of their skills for granted. They don't really know what's going on. And I think it's important to think about your positioning. So what if you're a tax director? What have you done?
Yeah.
Are you a tax director who specializes in tax avoidance? Or are you a tax director who just makes sure that everything is all compliant? Are you a tax? So there are different things, and you need to know your positioning with respect to the value you can create, and also your pivot. So what if you're a tax director? Could you move into something else that's different or something else that's new?
I found that with individuals who have issues selling themselves, it's not because they're not good at presenting them ideas. In fact, they're really good at talking when it comes to the work.
Yeah.
And they're all charging up the hill with the flag, and they're rousing the troops, and they're going, yes, I'm a really skilled negotiator and I can do all these wonderful things because that's my superpower. But when it comes to selling themselves, they turn into their very vulnerable 25-year-old selves back when they were first coming out into this scary world.
Oh yes, correct.
And they've forgotten. And of course, it's going to be an issue that they're projecting again.
Yeah.
So we're here to help you if you find that you're having some issues with language, with vocabulary. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of a mindset shift. Now, we have the strategies to help you. If you just need to kind of readjust the way you think about yourself in order that you can be and present the best of yourself to the people who need to hear it. Okay?
And on that note, we're not just talking about people who want to downgrade or downshift their career.
Downgrade.
Downshift. We're talking about people who want to step up as well. If you're in your 40s and 50s and you find that you are not at the end of your
Race.
career story right now, okay, you want to upgrade, fantastic, go ahead, you see. But the big challenge as well is once again is the language used, the positioning. Because we had this finance director and she wanted to go into a CFO type role, and she was already doing a CFO type role. The problem was when she was interviewing, when you asked her what was your core skill? I'm great at doing reporting,
administration,
variance analysis,
FP&A.
Yeah, I'll make sure that and you cannot
And
do that.
the pitch is not elevated enough
Yes,
to be
correct.
strategic.
So that's why you need to up your interview game as well. If you want to move into a bigger and more senior role, you need to talk at the level you want the job you're gunning for. You need to behave, you need to dress, you need to have that presence for the role. And it's not often easy, it doesn't come naturally, so come talk to us.
And again, those are very sweeping suggestions which you can get online anytime.
ChatGPT.
It really is about what is contextual and what fits what you're comfortable with. And I might give you some bombastic language and you'll never be able to stitch it together because it doesn't feel natural.
And it's also contextualized to your career story. That's why at the first coaching session which we do with our clients, it takes anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. My marathon is 4 hours with a client just to untangle that ball of yarn, to find out which are the threats that they want that are valid. And but no, after that was just pure clarity all the way.
Valid or want to sell or want to throw away. It's about clarity.
Yes.
And we've been singing that song for the longest time.
Maybe next time we should bring a ball of yarn here and demonstrate.
Then I'll be like cat. Then I'll be like
okay. I think one of the biggest things, however, is that I find people who have been so engrossed in their jobs that they've forgotten about their careers.
They've forgotten about the bigger picture, about why they're doing this. So they do need a career strategy. Even though they're thinking, gosh, I'm already in my 40s, things are kind of moving along.
Yeah.
I think things are okay, until they're not.
Yeah.
And then they suddenly lose sight of the road signs that led them this way.
Correct.
And so those are the ones who come to look for us. So lacking career strategy is another reason why individuals find themselves kind of stuck, kind of lost.
Yeah. And what is a career strategy? We have different elements. We talk about career velocity, how fast you want to go, how slow whether you want to do a downshift strategy or whether you want to just hover. We talk about career directions, whether or not you want to, which career quadrant you want to move into. And there are a lot of other important elements which you need to put into play before you even decide what job you want to hunt for. So landing a job may not solve your problem. It's all about the career strategy. And when you get the career strategy right, you will be able to have the clarity and confidence to move ahead into whatever venture you want and know that, hey, that's the right decision.
Yeah. It's all part of being agile, isn't it? So if you don't plan for your 50s where you're 40, by the time you reach there, you don't know where to start. And you end up resetting the clock. And one of our most common feedback that we get from individuals is, I wish I'd come to you guys earlier. So this is a public service announcement. If you're in your 40s, don't take your foot off the pedal in the planning part.
Yeah.
And we're not asking for, a lot of your time. We're asking for you to spare a thought about what your 50s is going to look like so that you can rearrange the pieces of your chessboard that would give you optimal benefit and more room.
And the thing we want to share with you is this concept, okay? What are you planning for? You're planning for career longevity, okay? Which means that how can I continue working, continue being economically engaged, doing the things I like doing, being paid for the work that I do, all the way until the day I want to retire. We could be 55, it could be 65, it could be 75.
It could be 95. It
could be 95. I think at the rate of looking at my bills every month, I think it's going to be 95.
You're not allowed to stop working. But it's also about choice. It's about choice. And so doing all the things that we've been nagging today, it's about giving you the choice, because the last thing you need is to be forced into a role that's just going to suck your soul. Why? Right. No. Right. So that's why we're in a market where we can have choices.
Yes.
We're very privileged to be in a time and a place where we do have choices.
You're right.
We don't have to live next to a giant mountain of
nuclear waste dump,
landfill, looking for recyclables.
Yeah.
Recyclables.
So we are
very privileged.
So that's why, if you are facing a career conundrum right now, or if you're a senior executive wondering what's next, not just in terms of job hunting, but just wondering what's the next step.
Yeah. Reach out.
Come talk to us, info@careeragility.org, and we're always happy to have that conversation.
Yeah.
In the meantime, whatever it is, don't worry, keep calm.
Happy Friday.
And career on.